So to the local consumer, it's terribly important to know that they have a taste memory. And if they are, as most households, if they're brought up within a memory of that taste, they will always look for it. So this is one of the good motives, that you know that you are working in a sort of a safe ground, that the demand will always be there. Especially in countries with an old, well-entrenched tradition, food tradition. Now, even when you see people for the sake of ease of, let's say, to satisfy the demands of modern life, like mobility, like not having enough time to eat, eating outside the home, so they always go for solutions, when you look at it, for Western solutions. Why? Because the takeaway is a Western company. But many takeaways now in Africa are selling African food, which is one entry. So we go back to the question. In order to satisfy the modern consumer, I have to go through modern technology and modern food processing and the food industry. Without it, I will get nowhere. That is a fact. In order to deal correctly with them, I have to protect my food source, the identity of my food. So the food source, if it is a precious source, like the baobab, for instance. The baobab is African. Don't say in baobab anywhere else. It has to have a geographic indication label, because they're making baobab juice, they're making a lot of food out of the baobab industry, but I don't know if Africa has already developed a geographic indication label for baobab. So we need to protect the intellectual property right if it is a specific process of processing, or intellectual property rights if there is even a simple traditional process involved, like drying or very simple, I mean not manufacturing, and the geographic indication. So any initiative to bring to the light, I call it uncover and discover the treasure of African food heritage, you need to protect it. That's one thing. For Africans, I rely on continuity. Everybody knows his grandmother's food and how tasty it was, and he would like to use it, but it is so full of fat, or it is so full of sugar, or so full of salt for the salted fish of West Africa, or there's so much sauce I can't carry it or take it to the office and eat it in the office as my lunch. So what we call the preferences of the modern lifestyle have to be responded to, have to be catered for. Smaller portions, ready to serve, etc., and as much as you can in order to continue or to preserve the attraction of that food, you have to work towards using food technology to preserve the traditional taste. When you cook it differently, when you put less fat, especially fat, the taste changes. So you need to take care of that. This is why the researchers work with chefs on really intricate issues before putting out a traditional dish in a 5-star hotel and saying, do you want the menu of the local traditional food or a Western menu? So if you look in African countries and see what they have on the traditional menu, sometimes it is purely traditional and you can't really eat it. It's too hot, it's too fatty. But sometimes in other hotels or they worked on it to make it more attractive for the consumer. Now I'm jumping to the global consumer. He has more demands than the African consumer for the traditional food because they already know it, while you're trying to sell it to and introduce it to the global consumer. Now, in this respect, I'd like to talk about a young Ghanaian girl who's now an American citizen, but she respects her African roots, and she's doing excellent work promoting African food with recipes and media and meetings and a lot of exposure. And they're buying. In the States, they're buying. But it is adapted to the Western taste, to the modern lifestyle. And what is terribly important is that she is also interested in educating the new generations of Africa on tradition.